So there's no topic? It's just like when we talk at Red Lobster?
Yes. I was going to bring up Red Lobster because last time we were there, we ran into Corey's brother. Remember Nate?
Yeah.
And I told Corey on the podcast, yeah, saw your brother Nate at Red Lobster. And Corey's like, he doesn't eat seafood.
That was Olive Garden.
Oh, you're right. Then it makes sense. I always picture with you Red Lobster.
Well, typically, but
how could I forget that? It was only like a week and a half ago now.
I don't know. You got a lot of things to contend with. I guess.
Olive Garden. Wow, it makes me question my memory.
They make you feel like family there.
Do they?
No, not at all. Au contraire.
Yeah, nothing against Olive Garden, but I see why they cover all their food with cheesy sauces and everything, because I ordered that chicken thing with nothing else on it, and it was really dry and stuff. No offense to Olive Garden.
Really?
If they ever want to sponsor this podcast, I guess I just blew it.
Is this on? Mm-hmm. Maybe I shouldn't even know.
That's okay. Yeah. But I thought it was good otherwise, just that one. I just noticed that. Oh, you don't want to put your foot on that because you'll hear it hitting it during the thing. You're like, put me in a straitjacket. Why don't you?
Pair of handcuffs would be fine for my feet too. Ankle.
But I called Mom and I said, I'd like to take you and Tony out sometime just to talk or whatever. Where do you want to go? And guess where she said?
Red Lobster?
Yep. So something about our family and Red Lobster.
Well, that goes way back. When you guys were kids, when we got our income tax return, that's where we'd go to celebrate because that was the special place.
Was that super fancy back then?
The shrimp were a lot bigger.
Yeah.
In fact, people really didn't want to call them shrimp. They were so big, so they just kind of whispered, shrimp.
Now they're jumbo shrimp.
Now we yell it from the mountaintop, shrimp!
What do they call that, an oxymoron?
Yeah.
Jumbo shrimp. I figured you'd like oxymorons just knowing your sense of humor.
I like that word. I like to say it, even though I sometimes don't put it in a proper sentence.
Yeah, if you call someone that, they get really mad.
Really?
They just hear the word moron, and I don't like it.
Well, isn't Oxy a cleaner? So at least they're a clean moron.
That's true. Oxycutum. That's like a facial thing for kids.
Yeah, so I don't see why they'd be upset with that.
I still use Oxy pads. Like, she used to buy those alcohol pads, and you just put them on your face to take off makeup and cure you from acne or whatever. And I still find that I use them, and I feel, I don't know, it makes me feel young or something.
Really? Oh.
And it cools you down in the summer. I think it's the alcohol in it.
Oh.
Yeah. Little tip. Plus, I'm not sponsored by them, trust me. Wouldn't that be funny? I'm actually sponsored by Oxy pads, and I'm like, yeah, I use them all the time.
Really?
No. The only time I did that was with water. This water company, not these, but they said, hey, we'll give you a whole box of water if you just have a bottle of ours somewhere in the background in your video.
Oh.
And so I started I drink them anyway, so I just keep them laying around. And then I felt a little deceitful about it. And so I told everyone, I'm like, this is actually a sponsorship thing. And you don't realize how much companies do that. They'll call anybody who have a lot of viewers, and they'll say, can you just wear this shirt? Can you just mention our product or whatever? And they get really sneaky about it. And then you go back and watch old movies like E.T., and you realize why you grew up wanting Reese's Pieces and all the candy and all that stuff, and Nike shoes and Pepsi and everything.
They're messing with your subconscious.
Yeah, because you just see it in a movie, on a movie screen, and you think, I need that. Just your brain thinks that. Mm-hmm. So do you ever watch movies now and realize you didn't notice all that before?
Well, I don't watch movies. I can't sit still that long.
Really?
But I do notice on current programs where they have the brand name recognizable, you know, the bottle might be turned halfway, but you can tell what it is. Mm-hmm. And I think, this Big Bang Theory does that.
Really?
And they're sitting in the cafeteria eating. They got bottled water or whatever.
You always notice when it's generic, too. Like somebody didn't want to pay them to drink their Coke or whatever, so they put cola on the can.
Yeah.
And I remember a long time ago, generic food used to be big, and it was black and white, I think. The boxes were white with black writing. It was the most basic thing you could see. And it would say cornflakes or something on the box instead of...
Pretty hokey, but...
Yeah. It's the message gets through, I guess. Mm-hmm. But do you remember ever buying generic stuff?
Back in the mid-'70s, we went through hard times. We went to Cub, the original Cub. There was a little hole in the wall at that time in 1975, and you had to mark your own prices on items that were sitting on pallets on the floor.
Really?
And then they had, at that time, black and white generic stuff.
What do you mean mark your own prices?
Well, they'd have a sign on the pallet, 85 cents, and then you'd rate 85 cents on the product.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Pretty hokey.
Could you just make up a number?
It's the honor system.
Oh,
well, the
geez.
cashiers, they see so much stuff coming through there, they know.
Okay.
And then if you wanted to save 3 cents, you'd bring your own bags. It was hard times. That was economic hard times back then.
75.
Yeah.
Was there a gas problem back then, or
yeah, that was in
shortage?
72, I think.
You were only allowed to get gas once a week or something?
You couldn't buy any more at a particular station than $7.
Bro.
But then people go down the road and get another $7. Yeah, that went on for almost a year.
That's funny. People always find a way around things.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as how much gas you got for $7, would that fill up a gas tank back then?
No, let's see, it was... Well, maybe it would. Gas, as I recall, the lowest since I've been driving,
Mm-hmm.
I've been driving since 71, was 19.9 per gallon.
19 cents?
Yep,
Whoa.
in 1971
Jeez.
at Metro 500 on Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Almost every one of my podcast guests so far has mentioned Coon Rapids because they're all close friends of mine and we all kind of grew up in the same
Yeah.
area. Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, I think you saw the picture I posted. I went back to the old clay hole after we met last week, and it's all wooded now. It's like they let the trees grow around the clay hole now, and there's a big sign saying no swimming. And I was thinking about how it used to be a toxic waste dump or something.
I don't know. I rode my bike by there a year ago and saw that same thing, the sign and everything.
Yeah.
And thought, God, a lot of people used to swim in here.
I almost drowned in there once.
Yeah, I read in your book.
Yeah.
You mentioned that.
And I still wonder if I really did die and this is all the afterlife.
No, you're here.
Okay. Well, that's what someone in the afterlife would say that, so there's no way of knowing.
Didn't you step on a broken bottle or something, too?
There's a couple things that happened there. It was weird, but there was always snapping turtles in this little clay hole.
I did not
They were
know
known
that.
for that. And one time, Mom was sunbathing, and she loved to do that. I swear she would turn so dark.
Yeah.
And I went out in the water, and I remember the water kept pushing me further out. And all of a sudden, I took a step, and there was nothing. It was called a drop off, I think. I just fell down, and I couldn't swim that well, so I kept seeing the water go above my eyes.
Oh, God.
And then
I don't know if I want to hear this.
the last part's a happy ending, I think. I said, okay, I only have energy for one more time, and then this is it. And I was really young, and I was already thinking like that. It's weird. This is it. See ya. And I went down, and I was expecting to just die, but all of a sudden my foot hit sand, and I pushed up, and all of a sudden I was my whole head came right out of the water. And it was so weird because the whole time I was looking at Mom, and she was just sleeping basically on the sand, and it was the scariest feeling to think,
Oh, my God.
I'm over here dying, and your mom's right over there, and she can't see you. It was a weird thing. I wonder what
Well, thanks for sharing that with your dad.
Yeah, you're welcome. And everyone on the podcast. So the weirdest part was then I had to fight my way forward to get back to the shore, but I had enough energy just knowing that I was hoping I wasn't going to go down again, that it was like the fight of my life. Like you see those little sea turtles trying to...
I'm going to have
get to the water.
nightmares tonight.
Yeah, it was the opposite of a sea turtle because they have to fight to get to the water. I had to fight to get out of the water. But, but the scariest part, it was in the clay hole right there. And my friend said, I almost got a snapping turtle, almost bit him in the butt or something when he was young. And everyone
I didn't know about the snappers.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I think I've asked you this before. Many years ago, I hosted Thanksgiving, and it was just for us, immediate family. And I think it was Loshi brought up Dad, we're all grown up now. Would you like to hear some of the stuff you don't know about that we did, but it turned out okay?
Oh, no.
Did you remember her asking that?
No, I may have blocked this out.
And I said, Loshi, I don't want to know. Well, Dad, we can laugh about it now. It's stuff like sneaking out of the house and stuff. And then coming back in the middle of the night. I said, Loshi, I don't want to know.
You're better off not knowing.
Yes, some things, yes.
Go to your grave not knowing that stuff.
I don't want to know.
Peace of mind.
I don't want to hear the drowning story either.
Oh, well, at least it had a happy ending. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to hear it.
Well, of course. Also, in your book, you wrote about, the police station was beside the clay hole at that time. And that they had a pop machine in there, and your mom would bring you guys in there to buy pop, and the cops were flirting with my wife.
How dare they? That could have been bad.
Did you get any badge numbers?
I didn't. I was going to do some seek revenge type thing later on in life, but no, just kidding.
Oh, God.
You don't want to do that. But that was fun, though, because that was just playful, whatever. But
no, I'm sure that.
They just did that with everyone. They probably put the pop machine strategically in the police station so that all the girls who were sunbathing had to go up and buy pop from them.
No, it's actually a good idea.
I know.
Now that you mention it.
Commendable.
Sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah. How come it's next to your office, Mike?
Yeah.
Never mind. I like pop.
Yeah. Got a problem with that?
Yeah. But back then it was Sunkissed. It was all this old-fashioned pop type stuff. And I just remember the commercial for Sunkissed was Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. Mm-hmm. How fitting.
It is.
But that was sort of our paradise in Coon Rapids, this little it's so funny, toxic waste pool or whatever you would call it, with a little bit of sand on the side, and people just treated it like it was the Bahamas or something. But that's what we had.
It's as good as it got back then for us.
Yeah, and then we would walk back home. That path that goes under that old bridge that looks like it's about to fall at any moment. There's no trains anymore, are there, that go over that? Oh, my God.
That was built in 1926. There's a plaque on it.
By Charles Ingalls of Little House on the Prairie,
Probably.
But every time we walked under
it.
Even when I was, really?
Yeah.
Even when I was a kid, every time we walked under it, I thought it was going to start shaking apart or something.
Well, it's still there.
Wow. Those are crazy.
Did you know that at one time a truck with a big box on it got stuck under it?
I believe it.
And they sent out engineers to figure out how to get it out of there. One engineer said, we're going to have to raise the bridge. The other engineer said, no. It's better to cut the top off the truck box. And then a kid on a bicycle happened by and says, why don't you just let the air out of the tires?
Smart.
Do you remember that story?
Was it a true story?
No.
Oh.
It's just one of those, proverb things, There's a lesson to be learned in there.
Yeah, because from the mouths of babes, as they say. The kid didn't have he had the simplest way to do it, basically.
But, yeah. So engineers overthink things. That's just typical. And then I always like that story because it really says something. What it is, I'm not sure of. But there's a lesson to be learned in there somewhere.
There's a thing called Occam's Razor. I'm learning all this stuff from listening to other people's podcasts. And it's a theory of the most obvious and simple explanation is usually the right one. And that sort of ties into that because they could have done all that stuff, taken apart the bridge, taken the top off, whatever, but the simplest way was the best way to do it. So I don't know if I kind of think of that whenever I'm trying to write a song or I'm trying to do something that's too technical, even jiu-jitsu. And you think, okay, if there's 12 steps to doing this move, how do I shave it down so it's more effective and more readily available?
Well, if simple is the best thing. I must be a genius.
Yes. It's like Bruce Lee said when someone was choking him and they're saying, how do you get out of this move? Do you flip the guy? Do you do this? And he's like, I'll just bite him. And they thought he was kidding. Oh, that's funny. No, really, show us the real move. And he was serious because sometimes biting someone's arm is the answer.
That's before AIDS was invented.
Yeah, before it was made in a lab. But also the idea of running away. Everybody has these ideas of knife defense and all that. And there's all these videos on YouTube of how to defend against knives. And I thought, well, if somebody is coming at you with a knife, run away. Doesn't that make the most sense?
Or tell them cut it out.
There is that. There's going to be a lot of dad jokes in this episode. But you think about it, someone coming at you wielding a knife, they're just going to be flailing, and a lot of things can happen, especially if you play guitar, that you don't want to happen.
Yeah, I get your point.
Yeah. I just hear people shutting this off right now. No, I can't take it. But I love them. That's where I get my sense of humor. Although I can see you as I'm talking, thinking about the pun as I'm talking.
You see the wheels turning?
Yeah. I see the hamster running in there.
Squeak, squeak.
I put that MIKENASTICS video together, that quick one, because I thought a lot of people don't really have the patience these days. I say that on this podcast, which is funny because it's a long-form podcast, but to sit and watch every event that you put on for 2 hours or an hour or whatever it was. So I thought I'd put together really quick, a 10-minute thing, and you saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The little thing.
Yep.
And what I liked about it was it just went back. I didn't even get all the videos that were on YouTube and put them together, but there are quite a few events that I left out even. But do you still get a lot of people asking about when's your next video coming out?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's so many friends on my friends list, and it's all due to MIKENASTICS. I never met these people. They just want to be friends with MIKENASTICS. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them I hadn't heard from in some time saw that and started contacting me.
He's back.
Yeah, so that was kind of made me feel good. Also, my best friend in 1969 was a guy named Craig Ebert. He and I in the summer of 69 played a lot of basketball together, and I haven't seen or heard from him in decades. And he saw that, and he Facebooked me and asked, is that you? And I said, yep, that's what I've been doing since I last seen you.
So he hadn't seen you even in your old videos, but just this one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder, did you see it on your page, MIKENASTICS page, or was it just somebody else shared it?
I'm not sure how he came about it, but
wow.
It was nice to hear from him. He was really a good friend, and I think he moved to California.
Well, I was wondering if because Corey and I were talking about a generational thing where it seems like our dads didn't really hold on to all their friends. Like we grew up, and I remember you saying, I don't really have friends, and you had a couple, but do you feel like you want to get reacquainted with some of your old friends? Or?
Oh, yeah. In fact, even in high school, I only had a handful of friends. I wasn't popular, but I was very selectful. And to this day, all these decades later, I still have 3 of my best friends that I see about once a month. And that's Don McAllister and John Kreider and Cody Ward. They all live up north by Cambridge.
Was Cody's the one with the real soft-spoken voice guy? Okay. I remember going to his... you guys hung out a lot when we were kids. 'Cause his daughter, Sarah, I think? Didn't he have a daughter, Sarah?
Something like that. I'll have to think on that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's weird. I think I remember it was either Cody or... No, I don't think it was Don McAllister, but we were watching the Michael Jackson Thriller video, and his son freaked out. Cause
Michael.
And he freaked out, I remember, and I thought, that kid's scarred for life.
For Michael Jackson's Thriller?
Yeah. Because that part where he goes, get away, and all you heard was the girl in the video scream, and then that little kid scream, and I was like, oh, no.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, but we'd watch it over and over again. We were just obsessed with it.
Well, yeah, it was so popular in its time.
Yeah, people were doing the Thriller dance, I'm sure, at the clubs and all that.
I still do it.
Just on the street, you just kick into it.
Yeah, just walking along, and there used to be in the 60s a gum commercial for T-Berry gum where a guy's walking down a city street. All of a sudden, he pops a stick of gum in his mouth, and he does a little dance. It's called the T-Berry Shuffle.
Oh, really?
And it was by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. It's just a little, 10-second thing, but I always thought that was pretty cool, just suddenly bust a move.
I think people should do it more often. They do have these things called flash mobs, I think, where people just plan, they're all going to get together at this mall, and at this time, we're all just going to start dancing. And
cool.
Yeah, it feels like you'd be a part of that.
That's my kind of people.
Yeah, you'd be the ringleader. How about if you get a group of people all together to do the Thriller dance when it's not Halloween?
I don't know enough people that dance that well who
You don't
would
have
do
to.
it.
You just put out the message on Facebook, and
Oh,
people show up.
I don't know. Even by my standards, that's pushing the envelope.
A little kooky. So I was thinking, if you do get the MIKENASTICS podcast going, this might be the first iteration of it or whatever, but not even where you have to talk to people. Just say your dad jokes, say all your stuff into your phone, and then upload it somewhere. Did you give more thought to that?
Well, actually, I brought the tripod and camera in the living room, and I thought when the mood strikes me, I'll just turn on the camera and go with it, and then see how that turns out, just for preliminary, so I can watch it myself, and not the visual thing isn't important, as you said, but to listen to the audio and, hear how I judge it went.
Yeah. How come video, like, do you not want to use your audio on your phone maybe?
I don't know how.
Oh, I can show you how, because if you use video, then that's an extra step you got to do. Because I know you're used to your camera.
Yeah, that's why.
But then you have to transfer that to this and then that to this. When you do it to your phone, you could just talk into it, eventually just hit a button and upload it, and everyone can hear it from there.
Okay. Well, I was going to use this as a dry run.
Okay.
Not ever to release it, just for myself, my own benefit.
You could also do like a video blog too, where you set up the camera or use your phone and just do a little video real quick, and then you can upload that. It just is a little bigger and it takes longer to do.
Brother Jim does that a lot.
Yeah, he does it
You've
with
seen it.
Yeah, with his webcam on his computer screen.
Oh,
or
is
whatever.
that what he's using?
Yeah, he's always in the same place, and it's always the same. It's kind of funny. Just he's always smiling and says, "Have a great day," and
Y'all.
y'all.
I don't know when he was down south, but
Yeah,
up
some
y'all.
people just adopt a Southern thing. You ever know with people like that? Suddenly, out
Once
of
in a while.
nowhere, they act like they're rebels and they have those values, and suddenly they change. And it's like, no, you're from Minnesota. I don't know what you're doing.
yeah,
Maybe they watch Dukes of Hazzard or something.
maybe.
I used to know this person. You have people like that in your life that suddenly they change their personalities because they change political parties or
Yeah,
kind of
could
music
be.
they like.
I like the one Get Her Done.
Yeah, that was big.
Still is in my book.
That tour that they did, it was the Redneck Comedy Tour or whatever. That was huge. It had Jeff Foxworthy, I
Yeah.
think. You might be a redneck guy. And Larry the Cable Guy, I believe. And they were selling out arenas when they did
No, I'll
that.
bet they were. They were hot at that time.
Yeah, so it's kind of I think it was called the blue collar comedy. That's sort of the name of it. Is that your style of comedy that you like the most?
Yeah, they're my kind of people, rednecks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you grew up kind of in the woods.
Yeah, because they seem like a simple, fun-loving folk, and that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I want a simple life, and I got a simple life.
Like Skinner wrote Simple Man. The song.
What?
Leonard Skinner wrote a song about you. It's just called Simple Man.
Oh, that song, yeah. Okay, now I remember it. Yep.
You're like, what are you calling me?
Well, I drove here in a 55-year-old Ford.
True.
What does that tell you?
But you did use your phone to find it, right? A little technology?
Yes, I
Okay.
guess I'm blending the two, trying to pull both of these eras together and somehow make a life out of it.
Sounds very strenuous trying to pull two.
It's like being Atlas, carrying the world on your shoulders. But someone's got to do it, so
Yeah.
that would be me.
Did you even sign up for that? That's a lot of work.
No, I just kind of self-appointed.
Be the ambassador for the
I'd like
generations.
to think so. It depends who you ask. Some people think I'm a nut, and others think, yeah, he's quite a guy.
They say sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Yes. My next podcast guest is going to be here tomorrow, and she's actually from out of town now, so she's leaving after the podcast, I believe. And when I put up that video, she said, "Oh, you reminded me about MIKENASTICS. He's the boss," or something like that. I forgot what she said. And then she
Cool.
didn't know you were my dad. And so
Oh, really?
she all of a sudden had this realization. She said, "Hold on." And it's just a funny text. And then, "Holy shit, no way." And she kind of freaked out. And then I'm going to tell her that she's sitting, in the same place you were just the other day doing the podcast. She'll want to hear your podcast, I'm sure. So say hi to Vani if you could.
Hi, Bonnie.
No, Vani with a V.
Hi, Bonnie.
She plays guitar. She actually played in a few shows with me with Mark Mallman, and she singer, songwriter, and all that stuff. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so it's kind of crazy how the younger generation knows about you, but originally you were aiming for the older generation, I believe. Mm-hmm. What was your first inspirational type idea for older people, was it?
Yeah, to get people my age at that time. I was in my mid-40s to late 40s, and I wanted people my age to start exercising. So that's initially my target audience. But I really missed my target, and I had maybe a handful of people my age that contacted me throughout all those years of MIKENASTICS, and 98% of them were young people, ages ranging 16 to 32 demographic.
A lot of college kids, right?
Yeah.
Smoking weed and watching you.
Yep. I would well imagine. That's makes my character even more enjoyable.
Well, now that it's becoming legal everywhere, maybe you could be the ambassador for...
Maybe I'll start smoking it.
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck?
That'll be your next move.
Quit drinking beer and smoke pot.
Yeah. It's funny after all these years how damaging alcohol is for so many people, but now that things are flipping around, it's so weird how long we would demonize something that, it goes all the way back, I think, to the Reefer Madness commercials. And to this day, people are still hanging on to that being truth or something. Do you remember Reefer Madness? Mm-mm. It was this movie that came out, I think it was in the 40s. I'm not sure. But it was making it look like if you smoked weed, you would go crazy and jump off buildings. And to this day, if you talk to older people, that's in their subconscious, I believe. So they believe it's this really evil thing that causes you to go on shooting rampages and stuff.
Well, yeah, they did actually when I was in junior high school. They had classes on, it was drugs in general, and was trying to teach the young people. I was 14 at the time.
Was it the Just Say No campaign?
No, this is long before that.
Okay, because that was in the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking late 60s.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it was Just Say Yes back then?
Yeah, just think about it.
Ponder it. If you go to Woodstock, go ahead.
Use your best judgment.
Not after you smoke, though.
Yeah, then you don't have your best judgment.
Yeah. Well, the kind of world we live in, because I'm kind of boring. I don't smoke or anything, but the kind of world we're forced to live in seems like it's the opposite of when you do that. When I've tried it, you just feel like it's a different world completely. And I can see why people want to escape with it right now, because the world is so, I don't know, you think of what we've built and what you have to do to survive in this world. Sometimes it just seems like you need the opposite just to take a vacation from everything. Mm-hmm. Thus, living a life of being buzzed or something is a way to get you through.
Stress will kill you quicker than anything.
Yeah. How do you get rid of your stress? Was it all the MIKENASTICS exercises back in the day? Or?
No, it's, since I retired, that's a big thing. 2 years now I've been retired. Mm-hmm. And for anybody to get an income from the government and not have to work anymore the rest of their lives, that would reduce everyone's stress at least 80%. And then...
Free money.
Well,
it wasn't free because you worked your whole life, but...
Yeah. And also just, I'm not married.
Oh.
No offense to anyone out there that is, but both the husband and wife know it's not easy to get along all the time. So if you're single, you only have to get along with yourself. And even at best, there's times I have arguments with myself. Can't make a decision, and
Do you look in the mirror and yell, get in an argument?
Yeah, it's just crazy. And then, so financially, that's a major thing in everybody's life. So if you don't have to work but have an income, that's super. And if you're by yourself and you don't have to negotiate everything in life with a partner, then that's also a freedom and a stress relief.
No compromising.
No, none. And also, I have zero bills. Everything's paid off. And that's the financial again. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So the big pillars have been taken care of for you.
So what was the question?
How
Do
you
I
relieve-
feel at peace, or do I need drugs to have
Well, how you
peace
relieve
of mind?
stress.
No, I don't. I have a 0 stress level now. It's just the circumstances in my life, which took 64 years to get to, are such that I don't have any stress
And you just want to ride it out for as long as you can,
until I drop dead.
which might be a long time from now if you have no stress.
Yeah, well, that's probably a given.
Was it part of your decision to not do all these athletic feats anymore because you were worried maybe you would hurt yourself and not be able to enjoy the way you're living now?
No, I just can't do them anymore.
Oh, really?
No, there was a period right after I retired where I went without medical insurance for almost a year. And I thought, if I get hurt, it's on me to pay for everything. So, yeah, that was a consideration. And the entire MIKENASTICS thing, not to publicize it so much, but the entire thing with a guy my age at the time, 40s, 50s, doing that sort of thing was to fill a void that I had since high school. And to make a short story long, no, a long story short, I was in wrestling in junior high school, and I wanted to go into gymnastics. My wrestling coach talked me out of it. That created a void all my adult life that I wanted to try gymnastics. And so at 43, I started, and I found out, despite my age, I was pretty good at it. I was able to do a lot of things most people my age couldn't do. And
Or even younger.
or even younger. But MIKENASTICS ran, I think, for 15 years. There were shows released. And then it does reach a point in everyone's life, any void that they fill, there is a point where it becomes filled. And suddenly the desire to do that was gone. And everyone listening to this, think back in your life of something that you wish you regret not doing, and then go back if you possibly can and try to achieve it by whatever means. And if you stick to it, eventually it'll be fulfilled, and then the desire is gone. That's how voids work.
So don't avoid voids.
Don't avoid voids.
That'll be a bumper sticker. It'll confuse people. What?
I like that.
So here's I guess a big question coming back. Might not have an answer, but I always mention jujitsu, but I think it's because when I was a kid, I watched karate movies, ninja movies. You were into karate. I grew up watching you with your karate uniform and everything. And then Larry and I were in Taekwondo for a while. And I feel like I always will like martial arts, but the drive that you have that pushes you through the hardest times, I wonder if that could be amplified if you have some sort of void, because it becomes a fuel to push you through.
Likely.
But do you think satiating, if I may use that word, all your voids is the purpose of life, and then you go to the grave happy? Or would it be good to still have a few tabs open so that you have a source of fuel? Or do you just change what drives you eventually?
Well, for one thing, I don't know what satiating means. And for another, filling a void, I suppose, when you take your last breath before you croak, as Theodore Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver says, you can think, well, my life was complete. And everyone wants that.
Yeah, you don't want to go to your grave wishing you did a bunch of stuff. Like, if you never
regrets.
started. Yeah, if you never started MIKENASTICS when you did, do you think you'd still have that at this age?
Yeah.
The void?
Yep.
Okay. So you're able to squeeze that void out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Some people can never do that.
I even remember the name of my wrestling coach that talked me out of gymnastics, Mr. Bell.
Okay.
No, I was going to say his full name.
Okay.
But
Call them out.
See, that's how, I've had a lot of teachers in my life. Everyone does. But to remember specific one, that says something. He had a effect on my life that it's kind of like initially it's bad, but eventually it turned out good. Him talking me out of joining gymnastics at a young age created the desire for MIKENASTICS. So it's weird how life works. Sometimes when something bad happens later on, the outcome is very good.
So you went from, excuse my profanity, you went from fuck you to thank you.
Yes.
But it took how many years?
30 years.
Okay.
I did do my third grade arithmetic real quick. Thank you, Mrs. Fickling, wherever you are.
There you go.
That was my third grade teacher.
Do you remember any teachers you had crushes on? Because I think we all have had a few.
Mrs. Reensma. That's a funny name, but she was tall and she had sexy legs.
A lot of teachers did when I was a kid, too.
Really?
I think it was just the way they dressed back then.
Yeah.
Or something. Reensma?
Reensma.
Oh, jeez.
And then she got married, and then her name changed to Mrs. Bensine.
And then she was dead to you.
Well, yeah, I'm still jealous about that. You talk about voids.
At least she didn't marry your wrestling coach.
Oh, that would have hurt.
That would have messed you up for
That
life.
would have really hurt.
That would have been a bigger void.
Mrs. Bell. That would have been a double whammy.
Things could be worse. That's a way to look at it. There was a teacher at our school. I think her name was Miss Lundgren, but she was really pretty. And there was a mean teacher named Mr. Bear, and he always looked like he had high blood pressure and he was ready to just freak out. But we kind of needed him in our school because we needed some balance. We had mostly female teachers, so he was the scary guy you didn't want to mess with. And they eventually got married, I remember. And we were all kind of jealous because we all liked Mrs. Lundgren.
Oh.
And then she was Mrs. Bear, but a lot of us protested and wouldn't call her that, even at that age.
Is this Hamilton Elementary? Oh, wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like you leave your house, leave the nest, and now there's a new female figure.
Yeah.
Did I say figure?
Figure.
Either way.
Go figure.
Yeah. Go figure. But then you're intrigued and oh, this is my teacher for all. And then you sort of grow to like them a little bit. There's always those teacher crushes going on.
Yeah.
And they last your whole life, I think.
Well, your teacher's your mother when you're at school.
Yeah. But now that you put it that way, it makes it kind of creepy. Oh, well. But yeah, good old Hamilton. But where did you go to school? Cedar
Elementary, Cedar, Minnesota.
Oh, geez. Did they have such thing as junior high back then? Or was it like Little House on the Prairie? It was one big room.
No, it was, each grade had its own room, and it was 1st through 6th in elementary.
Okay.
And then 7th through 9th was considered not middle school, but junior high school.
Mm-hmm. Same with us.
Too, yeah.
And then 10 through 12?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, 10 through
11 for you?
10 for me because I dropped out after 10th grade.
And you were how old?
16.
Yeah, I always think because of what you did early in your life, it seems to add to your success later in life because you weren't dependent on anybody except yourself.
Likely.
And you had to go through a lot to get back to that place, I think.
Yeah, looking back, it's interesting once you get to a certain age, you can look back and see how things turned out versus how initially that particular thing began. And you see that a lot where, well, it's, what do they call that? Yeah, I'm at a loss for a word, so go ahead and carry on.
Sure. But now that you look at where you're at now, you see why it was worth doing all that?
Now, yeah. Looking back. Well, it's like the old saying, if I only knew then what I know now. Mm-hmm. Well, to me, when I was a young person, that pretty much said young people are naive and stupid. Well, now I see the sense in it. Yeah, you get to a certain age and you look back and you think, well, here's another one. Youth is wasted on the young. Mm-hmm. Oh, I resented that, and so did everyone else that was young at the time. Mm-hmm. But then you get older and you look back, yeah. I hate to say it, but yeah, it's true.
That's why I always have to, whenever I say old people stuff, because I find myself saying these things all the time too, and I get the eye roll from a younger student, I understand. Because now I'm the old guy ripping on their music, whereas when I was younger, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
I know how that feels. So I always say, okay, I know I sound like the old guy, but, and they're not going to fully absorb it, but someday they might be able to do that.
Blessing in disguise. Mm-hmm. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
That, it's a blessing in the future, but at the moment, it doesn't look anything like a blessing. It's something that you consider you wish didn't happen, but the outcome typically is good.
That happens to a lot of people when they might lose a job that they really thought was secure, and next thing you know, they find something better. But I always wonder if you turned it into a blessing, because some people may have just never picked themselves up and just, I don't know, played victim or whatever their whole life. And then when their grandkids ask, well, how come you never became this? Well, it's because my dad did this or my mom did that. So I wonder if even if you do have bad circumstances, it's up to you to make it a blessing or not, or if it's just in the cards for you already.
Generally speaking, I think all of us are slaves to our subconscious.
Yeah. And you learn that as you get older, right? You start looking back and saying, that's why I dated this person.
Yep. But by then it's too late. You're almost dead.
I figured it out. It's sort of like, I wonder if we all figure out life at the last second, and then when the lights go out, you get 1 second to know what it's all about.
And you know what? I've never really believed in reincarnation up until recently. My dad died last February. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this stuff.
No,
but,
we go deep.
So I started to believe this year in reincarnation because people throughout their lives that don't learn the lessons of life and finally they die, God probably says, all right, let's try this again. And then you're reborn and see if you get it the next time.
Take 217.
Yeah, and call me when you're going to die from your reincarnated life, and we'll discuss this further.
Have you seen the movie Groundhog Day?
No.
That's a movie you'd like, with Bill Murray. And I won't give it away because it's so good. Well, yeah, I kind of have to tell you the story, so spoiler. He's kind of this bitter newscaster, but he's a weatherman, and he wants to climb the ladder, and he's mad because he keeps getting sent on these assignments out of town to, like, one of them was Groundhog Day, where he had to report on the groundhog coming out. And in his world, that's very demeaning because you're sent out to do a stupid story when he should be doing serious stuff. And so he goes out and he's mad and he's just begrudgingly doing it. And he goes to bed that night, wakes up, and the next day it's the same day again. He's in that city. What's it called? They call him
Philadelphia?
Yeah, Puxatawny, I think.
Yeah.
And he keeps waking up the same day over and over again to the same alarm clock music.
Yeah.
And every day, I guess for real, in the movie it looks like it's about 3 years or something. It's supposed to be hundreds of years. And he learns how to play piano. He tries to kill himself a bunch of times because what would you do if every day was exactly the same?
I'm doing it now.
Yeah, it feels like it. And so that's sort of the idea of reincarnation, but one day. And eventually he gets over his selfish tendencies and a bunch of things change about him. And by the end of the movie, he's a whole different guy and finally he's able to move on. So this is sort of same idea.
It sounds pretty interesting. Like I said earlier, I'm not a movie person. I can't sit still that long. But that one, I may just watch.
Really? What do you think? What do you mean sitting still, like relaxing?
I fidget.
Like right now, it probably kills you to sit on a chair for...
Yeah, I'm kind of playing with my car keys. And, I don't know. I'm just like a little 5-year-old that, if you ever watch them, they can't stand still. And
that means you have a lot of energy, at least.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But for someone 64 years old, it looks stupid. But
so no buying you a rocking chair quite yet.
No. Here's something that my friends don't understand. I drive over to their place, and then I arrive, and the first thing anyone ever says to you is, come on in, sit down. Mm-hmm. My response is always the same. I sat all the way here in my car. I want to stand up. So they sit down, and they're talking with me, and I probably stand and kind of just pace around while I talk to them for the first hour. Now, is that unusual?
It sort of makes the person who sits down feel funny because, I don't know, just having someone standing and talking to you while you're sitting is weird. But
like condescending.
It's kind of like one of those things, Chris mentioned it. If you're wearing a watch and you're talking to someone, you keep looking at your watch, it doesn't mean you want to get out of there necessarily, but in our subconscious, we feel like you do. Mm-hmm. And so I thought you were going to look at your watch as I said that.
It just occurred to me.
If somebody's standing above you, it's that weird, you turn into a kid again. I kind of understand short man syndrome or whatever they call it.
Little guy syndrome.
Yeah, where everyone's always above you. I've stood next to basketball players before because I'm about 6'1", so I feel pretty tall usually.
Yeah.
And I felt like, does anyone see me? And I wonder if that makes people want to react differently.
Yeah, I suppose. But, it's not intentional. I'm not trying to make my friends feel that way.
Right.
To me, it makes sense that if you drive somewhere and it's a long trip, these friends I have.
Yeah.
And so you're in the car for an hour, and when you arrive, the last thing you want to do is sit down again for another hour or two.
That's cool. You might be starting a new trend because everyone's always like, take a load off is what the old saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should invite your friends to walk with you or something, talk. Would they do it, or would they be too lazy?
Probably not.
Because I'm finding it's really hard to get people to exert physical energy. We're talking about, I had 4 friends. I said this in every podcast now. Found out they had type 2 diabetes around the same time. And it was really weird. There's a lot of correlations. One of them seems to be diet pop or sugar of some kind. I know diet pop doesn't have sugar, but it has artificial stuff. And another one is not like inactivity. So just not wanting to, just thinking of exercise and kind of being like, ugh. So I wonder if you just have the opposite because you've been doing exercise your whole life. You have this stored up energy.
I got to quote this, enjoy, don't analyze.
Oh.
And a lot of times people are analytical about their own self. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? I guess if it's a good thing, who cares?
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yes.
We're going to use all of them today.
For hoof and mouth disease.
What does that mean? Like someone gives you a gift of a horse and you look in their mouth for something?
To see if they're healthy or not.
Okay.
They might have hoof and mouth disease.
Oh.
And if so, you don't want to say, well, have your sick horse back, I mean. And here's another one. Don't buy a pig in a poke.
Never heard that before. Sounds
No?
like it was on Green Acres or something.
Oh, that was common. Basically meaning that if you're a farmer and you're going to buy a hog, you got to take it out of its box, the pokey that it's in, and examine the pig.
Oh.
Don't buy a pig in a poke. Get them out of the box and check them out.
Okay.
All you folks out there in the market for a pig.
So don't get scammed, basically.
Yeah.
All these sayings, it's funny because you think you have something profound that you've discovered. I was just talking about this with my friend Dylan yesterday. But then you go back and see Socrates said it, or just Mr. Rogers said it, or somebody, and you feel like everything's been thought through already, and every breakthrough you've had just has to be rediscovered.
Well, all these, I think they're called proverbs, exist for decades, centuries, because they're a truism. It's true. It's just making a point by using a couple short sentences. And, yeah, they will continue to exist because, people like me keep bringing them up, and a lot of young people go, what the heck is that supposed to mean? And here was a time recently where I posted something on Facebook that I thought I created myself, but someone told me, no, you didn't. You probably heard that. So I said, no.
What was it?
And it goes, those who are satisfied with what they have are truly wealthy. Because even if a person's got millions in the bank, more money than they'll ever spend, if they are greedy and it's never enough, they're really not wealthy because they haven't reached that satisfaction point. But like in my life, it's a simple life. I've got everything I want, and it ain't much of nothing. Like I said, I drove here in a 55-year-old car, but I'm satisfied. So I consider myself wealthy.
You know what's funny is you said you pulled up and the guy at the other store was kind of fawning over your car. Well, what's funny is if you pulled up in just a normal car that might have been newer and more expensive, nobody would have said anything.
They wouldn't bat an eye.
That's kind of cool.
So.
The other day when I woke up, I realized to get the most out of my life, at least, what I like to do is, I don't know what you think when you hear the word sacred. Some people really put it in religious terms or whatever. Yeah, like praying. But if you see the slightest thing in your life as sacred, it's harder to take it for granted. So if you just take a swig out of this water bottle and you don't think about it, it means nothing to you, and you sort of forget that it's even a good thing in your life. But if you think about all the things that went into making it or getting it to you, and the ability to just have water anytime you want to. You go down that path. It's sort of the opposite of what you said about not thinking. But if you really ponder all the things that are around you, even in this room, how long it took me to get these things, how long having like that guitar was just a dream one time. And I'd go to Guitar Center and look at a wall of guitars and wish I had a guitar like that. And now it's sitting over there. But if I never thought of that, it would just fall by the wayside.
Interesting.
Yeah. So even the slightest thing, like
It's thought provoking, and my thoughts are provoked.
are they?
Yes.
Is that a good thing?
Yes, it is.
Hey, buddy, you provoked me. Thought provoked me.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. You're quite welcome.
Yeah. So if you ever want to feel rich, which you probably already do because you've gone through all these phases, but just look at what you're wearing right now. Just the watch you have on and where you're sitting. It's just air conditioning going on right now. Suddenly you realize that you are rich. People always say you're above the 10% of the whole world as far as wealth goes, just living here. So it puts you in a different perspective. And not to get too self-helpy, but it just sort of puts you on a different path because then you appreciate things a little bit more.
Stop and smell the roses.
Yeah. Did you see that? There's a cartoon about that. And it was this real type A personality person trying to do all this work. And this real laid back guy was behind next to him. And he's like, dude, you just got to stop and smell the roses sometimes. And then all of a sudden the next picture is the type A person with a bunch of roses in his hands, smelling them super hard that they're like flying up his nose. It's a cartoon. And all of a sudden the next one's him holding a trophy that says, flower smelling champion.
No, I'm afraid I missed that one.
Yeah, but that's kind of the go get 'em attitude. Even stop and smell the roses means it's a competition for some people.
Oh, okay.
I'm the best at smelling the roses.
You know, I tried that once. I stopped and literally smelled the rose, and a bee stung me on my nose.
Say, no good deed.
So that wasn't, that don't work for me.
Yeah. Shows how much that they really didn't know what they were talking about.
Then I punched the bee.
Did you?
Yeah, knocked him out.
Did you tell him to behave?
I was about to say that.
I know, I read your mind. How many puns can I come up with for bee? Stinger?
Here's that kind of reminds me of this. You walk up to someone and ask if they want their palm read, and they go, "Really? You know how to do that?" "Oh, yeah,
I know where this is going already.
And have a red magic marker in your pocket and you just draw a line on their hand.
I have a feeling when maybe I'm closer to your age, we'll just sit and drink beer and talk puns all day.
We do that now.
That's true.
Except
what am I talking
drinking water.
about? Yeah. But, feels later in the day, baby.
It's fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun.
It's
and
fun.
My son Michael and I, we always do what I call one-up each other, whether it's on Facebook with comments on something that he or I posted or in person. Well, and it's not a competition per se. It's just trying to make things funnier and funnier, and we laugh more and more. He'll say something, then I'll try to one-up that, and then he'll one-up me, and he usually ends up on top when it's all said and done, but...
Not lately.
Not today, maybe. I don't know.
Today's your day.
Audience can judge that.
I just I try to let things come to me now. I don't try to make... Because every time I try to make something funny, it falls flat. So I just sit there and it comes to me. And that's why I sometimes laugh at myself. It sounds sort of funny, like, oh, he laughs at his jokes. But it's because I don't feel like I come up with them. They just come to me.
I laugh at my own stuff, too. People say that's wrong.
Well, you got to be your own best audience.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's what I'm thinking.
Got to encourage yourself.
Uh-huh.
After all, if I didn't laugh at my own jokes, I don't think anybody would.
Well, that's what they say.
It's a lonely endeavor.
It is, but
puns.
you know what really matters is that you make yourself happy.
Yeah, there are times when I'm just vacuuming around here or something, and a funny thought comes in my head, and I'll just laugh about it.
Yeah.
So, but I don't take credit for it anymore. But maybe it's just all my life experiences have come together, and suddenly I don't know, the right equation comes together in my head. Combination of your sense of humor and all the comedians I've ever listened to, and suddenly you have your own brand of humor.
Yep.
Like, who would you think you're closest to as far as comedians go? Because I'm thinking George Carlin would be mine, or...
He's good. He was. I can't find the word. Comic genius.
Yeah, almost a prophet sometimes.
Yeah, prophet. Too. Yeah, he was a very special person. Yeah.
Remember Gallagher?
Yeah.
I had an old videotape. I think Grandma brought it over, and that started my sense of humor a little bit. That and you showing us Honeymooners and I Love Lucy when we were kids.
Yeah.
So it's all a combination of that.
Mm-hmm. It makes life worthwhile to laugh. Laughter is the best medicine, you know. It makes everyone feel good. Everyone.
It can really diffuse the situation, too. I remember a long time ago, I had an ex-girlfriend, and all this bad stuff was happening around that time. I was just a mess in my brain. And I remember we were going outside, and I was going to confront her about this thing I heard about her going on. And this is in my book, too.
It's sounding familiar.
We started to argue, and it was nighttime, and I was in a huffy mood. I was just going to sit down and let her have it, just basically yell, tell her what I heard about her or whatever. And I sat down, and I ended up sitting on one of those gas meters next to an apartment complex.
Oh, I remember this now.
And I sat down so hard, I felt like I broke my ass. I was just like, ugh. And it was that point where you didn't want to let her know you were hurt. And so I held it in, and I just turned red. And I just couldn't help it, but I just started laughing because it hurt so bad, and I wanted to hide it so much that it became humorous.
Gosh.
It was funny. So because I was laughing, I couldn't be mad anymore at what was in my head already. It was kind of a good lesson. Yeah. But it was a good lesson to show, even if you're at your most angry moment, the funniest thing could come up, or I don't know, something just would knock you out of that
whole thing.
Yeah, that's a Tony Robbins thing. It's like he could snap his fingers and be in a different mind state if you want to be.
Yeah, I think everyone to a degree can do that.
Yeah.
If they have a conscious effort for trying it.
That's why even if you're about to get in a fist fight with somebody, you can diffuse it quickly by just, I don't know.
Going like this. I'm flailing my hands or fists like a girl.
Yes, you could definitely do that. Or, I don't know, I've seen people do many things. There's a posture you could take. It's called the defensive posture, where you put your hands kind of like together, like almost like you're praying. But it's, hey, let's figure something out. But you put your hands here so that if they do take a swing at you, you're ready. Some people drop their arms to the side to show that, oh, what, you're going to do something? That's a tough guy thing. And it's the stupidest thing to do because you got to lift your arms all the way up to defend.
And they're very vulnerable.
Yeah. So we learned that in class. Just do this, hey, everything's cool. Sort of put your hands up like that, like you don't mean. And sort of subconscious, too. Like, I'm holy or whatever. I'm not going to hurt you. And then
if there's just that in yoga, too.
Definitely. And it's a good stretch for guitar.
Oh, I bet.
But somebody takes a swing, at least have your hands up so you can do something.
Yeah. Did you know, I think a lot of people don't know about this, that the popularity of wearing a cap backwards, why people do that?
I have a feeling it has to do with being in a fight.
Well, many years ago, a baseball team coach and a referee will get into an argument, of course, as part of the game, really. And you'll see the coach turn his visor from the front to the back and then stick his face nose to nose with the umpire, and they're yelling at each other. So the gesture, of course, is so I can get right in your face like that. And so people picked up on that, like, okay, I'm one of those guys that, you know, if anyone gives me any trouble, I'll be right in their face. So I'm going to wear my hat backwards all the time, so I'm constantly ready to argue. Yeah. Isn't that pathetic?
Wow. And it might have started that way, but then later people just copied them.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Most people don't know the history of certain fashions and popularity. And I find it intriguing to find out. For instance, wearing your pants down so your underwear shows.
Prison.
Yeah.
Yep.
Typically, people that go to prison lose weight. And then they're given back the same clothing that they had on when they first arrived in prison. And because they lost weight, it's draping off their bodies. So that is to signify, hey, I'm fresh out of prison.
Oh.
I'm cool.
Wow, don't mess with me.
So if your pants are falling down and you got your hat on backwards, man, you are cool. No offense to those that actually do this, but you got a little history on it.
I like that. I heard a story one time, and it really brought home the idea of not always following tradition blindly, but questioning it, which is a good idea. But they said somebody's mom kept cutting off the ends of a ham, I think it was, and she had a huge pan, and she put the ham in and just cut the ends off and put it in. And the daughter was asking, why do you always cut the ends off the ham? And the mom's like, well, my mom did it. And then they asked grandma, why did you cut, and she kept saying, well, my mom did it. Finally, they found out that back in the old days, the pan was too small and the ham wouldn't fit. So they had to cut the ends off, and now they just keep doing it out of tradition.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many things in your life that you do because that's how you learned it.
Yeah.
But it's outdated and no longer necessary.
Well, this sounds like I'm talking down to people, but I don't mean it because I do it too. I see people go through life like a zombie, like a robot, and they just do things mechanically because that's how they were raised. So if they ate TV dinners on Thursdays to this day, it's Thursday, I have to have a TV dinner. It's this holiday, you have to put up this decoration every time on the door. You have to do this. It's very mechanical. And I wonder if too much of that is bad, but not enough of it could also make you feel a little lost. Like you need a little bit to feel a little bit connected.
Well, I think earlier I had mentioned that we're all slave to our self-conscious. Well, we're also creatures of habit. So you mix two together and voila, there's a person.
Complicated creatures we are. But to me, there's that other agency, hopefully you could tap into eventually, that asks why you do things. But I read a lot of books about free will. And after you read all those, you wonder if everything you do, you're a slave to. For example, they found out your gut biome, it's called, all the bacteria that's in your gut. Good stuff, mostly. It could be bad if you eat too much sugar. It could basically make you make decisions to eat poorly because it needs more of that fuel source. So your stomach is actually leading you to make decisions.
Again, yoga talked about that just this morning when I went there.
That's cool. You do yoga now, by the way. Yeah?
Yeah.
What did they say?
Well, that your stomach and all the, like you said, the good bacteria in there, that's considered your core, your mid part of your body, and that can affect your health. It can affect how you behave, your moods, all that.
For sure.
I thought it was all in your brain, all this stuff, but no.
That's why a lot of people say, what does your gut tell you?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they really thought of it as your gut
That's
literally
why
having neurons and stuff.
There you go.
But if you think about that,
What's your gut feeling?
yeah, and usually that should supersede your brain because your brain can come up with all these stories that can throw you off. Have you ever seen someone who they get mad or they're already a little crazy and you look in their eyes and they're not looking anymore? They're so deep in their thoughts. They're in a different reality and they start saying things and you're thinking, where is this coming from? This makes no sense.
Yeah.
So the opposite of being present and actually being with it here and being together is being lost in your thoughts, which I think we all fall into a lot.
When you mentioned that anger thing, here's another cliche thing. When anger enters the room, reasoning goes out the window.
Yeah, for sure.
It does.
That's what they say in martial arts. Don't get mad while you're competing. Like boxers, if they get mad, they start just winging punches and they forget about the technique and the defense.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
So can't get angry. And that's why a lot of people taunt each other because they want to get the other person mad. So they'll throw that one big punch and totally screw up.
Huh.
I think that's why. It's also to sell tickets, I think, all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a big part of it is when they try to promote boxing, like Muhammad Ali did this a lot back in the 70s.
He was a master at
doing
that.
name calling of his future opponent and try to get him angry just to sell tickets. And it worked.
I heard it went really so far that one time a guy shot a gun at him or something like that at a casino. So people take it personally, and then next thing you know, you're in the cage or the ring with them, and you have to basically cash your ticket, I think they call it. Did I just make that up?
I don't know. You tell me.
Because recently Conor McGregor fought this Russian guy, Khabib. I don't know if you watch UFC at all.
No, I don't. I can't watch that.
Too much craziness.
Yeah.
But Conor's the master of trash talking right now, and as he was losing, the Russian guy was just on top of him. The Russian guy was saying, keep talking. You want to talk now? So he brought that into the ring, but used it as fuel. Kind of scary.
No, I can't handle. One time, briefly, I watched one of those matches for like 4 seconds, and then that was the end of it.
Really?
and that was back in the 80s.
Oh.
I don't know. I can't, because it's not pretend. It's real violence.
Well, you probably saw some really early, because the UFC wasn't even around till 93, so you probably saw some iteration of it where it was really brawl type stuff, street fighting type.
Yeah.
And the UFC was like that in the beginning. Like the first match, everybody was waiting to see what would happen because it was finally on TV. I think it was pay-per-view or something. And the first match was super boring. This huge Samoan guy, I think he got punched and his tooth came out or something, and then that was the end of the match. The people were expecting movie type stuff, people flying through the air and
like the
craziness.
wrestling was kind of
blood sport or something.
But strangely enough, though, I do like sumo wrestling because there's very little striking, and it's in a big circle, and they're just trying to shove each other out of the circle.
You ever go to cons before the restaurant?
I've been there,
Did I take
yeah.
you there? They play sumo wrestling on the TVs as you're eating.
Oh, I didn't. At the time I was there, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's a little bit. Sometimes it could be a little bit like, oh, what am I looking at? Two huge
trying to
guys.
eat.
Or that's what I'm gonna look like if I keep eating here. But yeah, it's weird because even the smaller sumo guy uses technique in a way. It's not just brute force. They lift each other a certain way, and all of a sudden, I think the goal is to get them to step out of the circle. But sumo wrestling against this karate guy or whatever was going on, it was weird to see the matchup. But now everybody's so trained in every discipline that it's cool to see true mixed martial arts, kind of like how Bruce Lee was thinking of it back in the day, against another martial artist. And you see what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, it's all about entertainment value, so people buy tickets, like you said earlier. Yeah.
You got to make it flashy sometimes.
You do?
And real fighting can be really boring. That's what people learned early on. It's crazy.
Yeah. Interesting.
And real fights in real life can last 2 seconds. I've seen fights just end just like that. And usually that's for the better. You don't want a prolonged fight where people are just getting punched over and over again. So I don't know.
Or one that turns into an all-out barroom brawl.
Have you ever been in one before? I've played so many gigs, I've never seen a brawl before.
No. I've never even witnessed it.
You never saw bar stools
I saw a couple
flying?
of girls out in the parking lot having a cat fight once.
That's
And
brutal.
the bouncers had to separate them. That was pretty good, though. The one had the other one laying on the hood of a car, and she was choking.
Whoa. Like this kind of choke? 2 hands in front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was like jiu-jitsu choke.
Oh,
or
no.
bulldog
No, it was
choke.
nothing fancy, but it was an attention getter. And, of course, all the guys walking through the parking lot said, yeah, cat fight, and it was rooting them on. I just stood there kind of in shock.
Whoa.
And finally, fortunately, the bouncers came out and separated them.
You didn't
But it
pull out
was
your
pretty
money?
ferocious.
I thought you'd pull out some money and my money's on the blonde.
Had I thought of it at the time, I just might have.
I always bet on the redhead. The redhead girls are,
So I've heard.
yeah, they're very fiery,
Feisty.
and I think they would always win. That's just
I fear you're correct.
that's my bro science for the day.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know you don't like sitting still for a long period of time. Unless we're at Red
too late.
Lobster. Unless we're at Red Lobster, then you can at least you're eating some things. We could sit and talk forever there.
Oh, yeah. That gift certificate's sitting waiting.
Yeah, we'll have to go. I can't believe I still thought that's funny. It was Olive Garden.
I was under the impression that they're owned by the same
I think they are.
corporation. Yeah.
And what I don't like about that is whenever you have a really good restaurant like Buka used to be really good.
Yeah.
They get franchised out and suddenly the quality changes and
Yeah.
things have to be mass produced.
Typically.
And I just imagine buckets and buckets of cheese sauce going to Olive Garden and they just dump it in. Whereas before when they first started, maybe they took more time making stuff and it was better.
I guess I never thought about it. But
Yeah. And
they treated me like family so much that I just overlooked the...
see how good marketing is? When you hear your family and now you almost feel bad
Yeah,
saying anything
sold.
bad about them. Yeah. I want to be with my family.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's go. I have to come up with a catchy slogan like that, I guess.
I'm sure you'll think of something.
All right. Well, maybe by the next podcast, I'll have something for you. I already have a theme song, but it's kind of scary sounding, and I'm wondering if it's going to turn a bunch of people off. It sounds like a scary video game music type thing. You'll hear it when you hear your podcast.
Okay.
All right. Anything you want to leave off with?
Okay, I do have some words of wisdom. At 64 years old, my entire life, I learned this one major thing, that no matter where you go, there you are.
There you go.
And there I am.
And
I will close
that
with
is
that.
it. I like it. I was trying to one up you, but I went blank. So
That
win.
one's a tough one.
Yeah, you win this round.
I may have won the battle, but
The war continues.
the war continues.
The war of words. Yeah, that was fun.
Is it done?
I think next time what we'll do is we'll stand the whole time.
Are we still on the air? Hello?
Check 1 2. Yes.
Okay. That was fun.
I like doing it because we would talk like that anyway.
Yeah.
We just have a couple microphones
for me?
weirding us out. Yeah.
I didn't know. I just